Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee-Jun in Seoul. Let's get started with a look at today's highlights. Korea's foreign reserves slipped for the first time in 7 months in September, mainly due to the strengthening U.S. dollar. Concerns are mounting over the expiration of a currency swap deal between Korea and China and the impact it may have on the Korean economy. We'll sit down with an expert to talk about this. But first, global credit ratings agency Fitch has maintained its credit rating for Korea at AA-, with a stable outlook on the country's sovereign rating. Fitch highlighted Korea's robust external finances and a strong macroeconomic performance, but expressed caution about geopolitical risks, an aging population, and low productivity. The ratings agency added tensions on the Korean peninsula continue to weigh on the country's rating, but added that an all-out war was highly unlikely. Fitch has kept Korea's credit rating at AA-, the fourth highest on its scale since September of 2012. Korea's foreign exchange reserves dropped in September for the first time in 7 months. Now, this comes after a steady rise from February to August, and Korea's failure to renew a currency swap deal with China may add to the worries. Our Yoon-shin has this report.
According to the Bank of Korea, as of September, the nation's foreign exchange reserves stood at $384.67 billion, down $170 million from the previous month. It's the first dip in Korea's foreign exchange reserves in 7 months. As of the end of August, the country was the world's 9th largest holder of foreign currency reserves. Central bank data shows that the greenback strengthening in the global market lowered the value of non-dollar currencies, including the Korean won, euro, and Japanese yen. Meanwhile, China's reserves remain the highest in the world, rising for the 8th consecutive month to over $3.1 trillion last month. Seoul and Beijing's $56 billion currency swap deal came to an end earlier this week, as the two nations failed to reach an agreement to renew the deal. The deal had accounted for some 46% of Korea's total value of currency swap deals it has with all countries. BOK officials added that talks between Seoul and Beijing to renew the deal are still underway. But experts have raised concerns that diplomatic tensions over Korea's decision to install the U.S. anti-missile system THAAD in its soil could throw up roadblocks in the negotiations. While things remain up in the air, market analysts reiterate that both countries would benefit from renewing the swap deal. They also stress the need for Korea to maintain a sufficient amount of foreign exchange reserves in case a new deal isn't reached. Yoon-shin, Business Daily.
The National Assembly has kicked off its first parliamentary audit since President Moon Jae-in came into office back in May. 16 parliamentary committees will inspect more than 700 government bodies through early November. On day one, the Supreme Court and the Ministries of Defense, Education, Industry, and Foreign Affairs have come under the microscope. The ruling Democratic Party of Korea has vowed to root out corruption from the previous conservative governments, while the main opposition Liberty Korea Party is promising to fight populism and scrutinize the government's policies on security and the economy. Minor opposition parties said they will lay out constructive solutions rather than focusing solely on past irregularities. A priority on national interest and striking a balance in profits will be the main goals in the upcoming negotiations to amend the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. This is according to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, Baek Eun-gyu, who spoke at the National Assembly on Thursday. Baek said he will firmly respond to trade issues with major partners like the U.S. and China, while expanding trade ties with emerging markets, including Eurasia and ASEAN countries. On the topic of China's THAAD retaliation, Baek said the government will continue to negotiate with Beijing while supporting firms that have been negatively impacted. Korea's energy ministry says it plans to unveil a roadmap by year's end detailing its nuclear-free policies. It's also expected to support private entities in need of adjustments amid the country's shift towards renewable energy. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy says it'll come out with a roadmap by the end of this year to provide the local nuclear energy industry and related entities hurt by the government's initiatives to phase out nuclear power. The ministry says it'll provide ways to revamp business projects of the state-run Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Company to incorporate the government's plan to gradually reduce the number of nuclear and coal-fired power plants in favor of more eco-friendly energy sources. The ministry says it'll also include support to small and mid-sized nuclear energy companies and residents living near nuclear reactors and strengthen its safety monitoring of operating reactors. The roadmap is to include plans to nullify the construction of 6 nuclear reactors that were due for completion by 2030 and revoke decisions to extend the lifespan of 10 aging nuclear reactors. The Ulsan Nuclear Power Plant Unit 1 in the country's southeastern city of Gyeongju is to be shut down, while the fate of the Shinggori 5 and 6 reactors in Busan will be up for public debate. The ministry says it will prohibit the construction of all new coal-fired power plants and temporarily shut down all 7 coal plants that are more than 30 years old during spring season, which usually entails high levels of fine dust. Kim Ji-yeon, Business Daily.
And taking a look at the stock market action for today, Korean stock markets are continuing to boom following an extended holiday break. At the closing bell, the Kospi reached another record high, up 0.68% to close at 2,474.76. The tech-heavy Kosdaq finished 0.64% higher to finish at 666.54. On the foreign exchange counter, the Korean won strengthened against the greenback, ending at 1,133.151 to the dollar. Foreign investors once again invested in Samsung Electronics on the back of robust earnings expectations, pushing the stock to an all-time high. The currency swap deal between Korea and China expired on Tuesday as the two countries failed to agree on an extension amid the diplomatic row over Seoul's deployment of THAAD. Let's take a closer look.
The Bank of Korea said this week that Korea and China had failed to reach an agreement to extend their currency swap deal. Although Korean policymakers said discussions over a new swap arrangement will continue, there are growing concerns that Seoul and Beijing won't be able to secure a deal amid the ongoing diplomatic spat over Korea's deployment of a THAAD missile defense system. The two countries first signed a currency swap deal worth some $26 billion back in 2009 in hopes of cushioning market shocks from the global financial crisis. The deal was then expanded to $56 billion in 2011 and has since been renewed twice. Although experts say the expiration of the swap deal is not likely to have an immediate impact on the local economy, there are questions on how Korea can protect itself from future market volatility following the termination of one of its largest swap deals.
And to tell us more about this, Professor Kim Se-won from Ewha Women's University joins us in the studio today. Good to see you again.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. So Korea and China have failed to extend their currency swap agreement, but BOK Governor Lee Ju-yeol said that talks about renewing the deal are still ongoing. So, I mean, tell us more about what may be going on here.
Technically speaking, the currency swap with China is officially terminated as of October 10th. But interestingly, both of Beijing and Seoul voiced any comments on official termination of the currency swaps between the two countries. So ironically, the silence on the extension of currency swap between the two countries means that something is going on between the two countries.
Now, some are actually saying that talks over a possible resumption of this swap deal could start after China's Communist Party Congress, which starts next week on October 18th. What are your thoughts on this?
What we need to know about the currency swaps between countries is that it is a very high level of political decision. So the largest concern of the Chinese leaders is extending President Xi's political power beyond his tenures. So for that purpose, President Xi really needs strong support from military over Communist Party's Congress this time. So since Chinese government recognizes the importance of the currency swap between the two countries, there is a high possibility that resume the renewing negotiations of the currency swaps between the two countries, even though they are pretty much angry with Korea about the THAAD deployment.
So exactly how worried should we be over the termination or expiration of this currency swap deal, and what could be the possible fallout on the Korean economy?
Well, we have two financial safety network against the massive outflow of the money from Korean market. The first is foreign reserve holding. Actually, South Korea is one of the largest foreign reserve holding country in the world, up to $385 billion as of last month. The second safety net is currency swap with different countries. But unfortunately, if we lose currency swap with China, which covers 50% of the total swapping size, the swapping network is in danger, actually. So if that happens permanently, there is high possibility that North Korea's military threats will affect the rating of the Korean bonds and everything.
So you're saying that there will be more long-term impact than immediate impact on the Korean economy and financial markets.
Right.
All right. Well, and then in your opinion, what's the appropriate total amount in dollar terms that Korea should secure in regards to currency swaps?
In academics, there were quite a few studies on the appropriate size of the currency swaps and foreign reserve holdings, but we do not have clear answer for that. What we only know is the more the better. And the good benchmark for comparison would be Chinese case. For example, China holds over $3 trillion of a foreign reserve, and that is about the 30% of Chinese GDP. And Korean foreign reserve holding is $385 billion. That is also about 30% of Korea's GDP. Regarding the size of the currency swaps, China maintains about the $3 trillion US dollar size of the currency swaps over 30 countries. But unfortunately, we have about $120 billion of Korean currency swaps with only 5 countries. So that's the weak point of the Korean financial market system.
So we have much more to lose compared to China, right? Well, what are some of the factors that we should keep an eye on as we wait and see to see if any negotiations will go on over a possible resumption of the currency swap deal between China and Korea?
The currency swap between Beijing and Seoul is really hot potato to Chinese government because there is a serious conflicts of interest to China. On one side, they want to stop currency swap with Korea because they are pretty angry with Korea about the deployment of the THAAD in Korean territory. On the other side, they really want to more internationalize Chinese money through the support of the Korean economy, which is one of the largest trading country in the world. So I believe that as soon as Chinese political issues settle down in the near future, there is high possibility that China will be more aggressive in renewing currency swap with Korea.
So for now, I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes out of China after its Communist National Party Congress, right?
Yes, we need to more be patient and wait.
All right, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Lotte Group has officially launched a new holding company in a move to secure a smooth power transition for the chief of the country's 5th largest conglomerate. The creation of Lotte Holding Company will simplify the group's governing structure while solidifying Chairman Shin Dong-bin's control over the conglomerate. In August, stockholders of 4 Lotte affiliates approved the measures to separate the group's investment and business entities. Lotte Holding Group is expected to evaluate the group's businesses and manage their brand licenses. Seoul court is holding an appeal hearing today for Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong. The new trial comes 48 days after the initial verdict back in August, where Lee was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. His charges included bribery and embezzlement in connection to a sprawling corruption case that led to the ousting of former President Park Geun-hye. Lee's attorneys say the case is separate from his succession bid to take control over Samsung Group, claiming he was already its de facto leader for some time. The Samsung heir has continued to maintain his claims of innocence. And following a year of controversy, Samsung Electronics' global brand image has taken a huge hit. In a 2017 ranking of corporate social responsibility, the Korean tech giant saw its ranking tumble by a whopping 69 places. Our Elliot Kim has more.
Thanks to booming semiconductor sales, Samsung Electronics' brand value has surpassed $53 billion. But this rise comes in direct contrast to the company's global brand image. In Reputation Institute's 2017 Global Company Social Responsibility Rankings, the Korean tech titan ranked just 89th, falling an incredible 69 places from 2016. The rankings are compiled by grading firms on products and services, innovation, workplace, governance, citizenship, leadership and performance, and surveying people around the world on the emotional appeal of a company. Considering how companies are ranked, it's not surprising that Samsung fell so far. In the past year, the company has faced controversies ranging from a defective product, the Galaxy Note 7, to the arrest and conviction of Vice President Lee Jae-yong. A Samsung official has said that the diminishing image is hurting the company's competitiveness globally. It can be especially worrying for the company when it sees rivals Microsoft and Apple atop the rankings at 2 and 3 respectively.
In the transition to the fourth industrial revolution, strategic decisions in investment and mergers and acquisitions will be vital to keep up with rapid changing global companies.
Samsung is currently plagued with internal bottlenecks that could be preventing the company from keeping pace with other companies globally. Lee Jae-yong's future role is one of the many wildcards. He had played a key role in many of the company's successful recent mergers, and how his role will be transitioned is unknown. With his exact legal fate to be determined at the end of the year or early next year, Samsung's future will likely be in limbo until then. Elliot Kim, Business Daily.
Korea is getting ready to embrace the fourth industrial revolution, with President Moon pledging to invest more in future technologies like the Internet of Things and big data. Here's our Cha Sang-mi with more.
The Committee on the Fourth Industrial Revolution will focus on the convergence of smart technologies, which have the potential to raise the country's competitiveness in new industries and create new jobs. In the manufacturing sector, it plans to expand smart factories, support development of industrial robots, and accelerate the use of 3D printers in manufacturing. The committee also aims to provide higher quality service by incorporating artificial intelligence and robots in the medical field, and build big data centers to help facilitate an environment where data can be readily exchanged and utilized. Another aim of the committee is to make Korea the world's first country to commercialize 5G internet connectivity, a necessity in the era of the Internet of Things where everything is connected to the web. To do all this, the committee says it will boost R&D funding and push for deregulation so that companies engaged in new industries can freely test their innovative ideas, products, and services. The committee will be divided into technology, social innovation, and management teams and will convene every 3 months with more regular meetings if the chairperson, a private expert in related fields, deems it necessary. Cha Sang-mi, Business Daily.
And the government's bid to usher in the fourth industrial revolution could be a real money spinner for Korea if everything goes as planned. A report drawn up by related ministries shows a potential economic windfall of more than $406 billion by 2030, led by the medical sector. The report also takes into account the expected creation of 800,000 new jobs in the ICT sector. Doubts remain, however, with some industry watchers saying the task of making Korea a global leader in the fourth industrial revolution might be overly ambitious. The emergence of virtual currencies like Bitcoin have shaken up the world of finance in recent years. Now, the price of cryptocurrencies have skyrocketed as they have become more frequently used in transactions while also being seen as a viable form of investment. But as the market grows, concerns are also mounting over their unforeseen side effects. Take a look.
These days, virtual currency is a hot topic on the international stage. Starting with Bitcoin and Ethereum, there are now up to 1,100 types of digital currency in existence, with the market growing ever more rapidly by the day. Bitcoin is the most highly recognized and leading type of virtual currency. When it first appeared in the market, it was only worth 1 cent. But fast forward to 2017, it is now valued at over $4,000, creating a storm across the globe. There are no managing authorities, and the currency's value depends on its supply and demand. Virtual money has emerged as an alternate form of currency, providing a hedge in times of financial market instability, leading to more investments. This is an offline virtual money exchange that opened recently. It resembles a stock market, showing real-time information of 6 virtual currencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Virtual currency advisors provide expertise for customers and assist in transactions.
We provide virtual money services at this premises.
Virtual money transactions are much simpler than dealing with a legal tender. This restaurant accepts virtual money as a payment option. With just a QR code on your smartphone, the transaction is complete.
저희가 고객님들이 바로 QR 코드 입력해서 페이하실 수 있게 편하게 리스트를 따로 뽑아 놓은 거거든요.
This is the only Bitcoin transaction center in Korea where you can exchange virtual money into legal tender. The business is booming, with many customers and foreigners able to directly exchange virtual money into local currency.
Are you here to buy Bitcoin or
I would like to buy.
Sell Bitcoin? Okay. So how much are you looking for?
700,000.
Bitcoin is not an officially recognized currency in Korea yet, but it is estimated that up to 1 million people are trading virtual currency. In August, Bitcoin trading volume exceeded that of the Kosdaq stock market, and Korea became the #1 exchange for Bitcoin in the world.
So with the Bitcoin, I can do everything much faster and for lower fees. It's also a secure payment, and it enables me to pay also to different shops here in Seoul and to my friends easily and fast.
So we first were established in 2015. Back then, Bitcoin was still very new. It still is very new, but back then it was even newer. It was at its infant stage. So, of course, users would have increased.
With virtual currencies such as Bitcoin spreading rapidly, many countries are recognizing them as official currencies. The United Kingdom was the first country to approve Bitcoin as an alternative currency, and Japan designated virtual money as an official means of financial transactions. Moves are being made to directly issue virtual money around the world. Many central banks are carefully reviewing the process. Japan has the most active virtual money transactions these days, and many companies are beginning to issue their own virtual currencies, such as J-coins and S-coins. The overheating virtual currency market comes with unexpected variables and side effects, such as being used in drug deals and tax evasion. New forms of fraud related to virtual money have been reported in more than 100 cases over the course of a year in Korea. And now many countries around the world are rolling up their sleeves to regulate the virtual currency market. For instance, in China, all virtual money exchanges have been banned. Korean authorities also held a meeting to create a joint task force last month. All investment drives and loans involving virtual currency are strictly prohibited. Any illegal virtual currency transactions will be subject to seizures and punitive charges. Korea Communications Commission, together with the Ministry of Science and ICT, will conduct on-site inspections of virtual currency operators.
According to the Information and Communications Network law, we will inspect operators on how they handle personal information and if they have the necessary protective means from a technological and management perspective. Any violations will be met with strict administrative measures.
Because it is considered to be more of a currency rather than an investment tool, not many people are thinking about specific risk factors. We all need to deliberate more thoroughly on the risks of virtual money.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.